Madhusudan Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa-siksa Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatt Raghunath Shri Jiva Pal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shri Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Sarup Damodar Ramananda Shri Gaur Parishad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. नवदीप मंडल की जय. ब्रज मंडल की जय. क्षेत्र मंडल की जय. श्री एकादशी तिथि की जय. माधव तिथि की जय. एकादशी पालन करी भक्त वृंद की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. हरि हरि बोल. Okay, now we're starting our class. Wait till I start Hare Krishna Mahamantra then at the end. Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Nama Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Anandalilamaya Virahaya Mabadivicha Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Nityananda Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Jannavapataye Namaha Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Takshu Vishwambaro Dijavaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priya Karo Karunavatarum Kanakajala Dagatro Nila Shonab Janetro Mrigamadavara Balo Malati Kundamala Taralataru Navesho Nila Pitambaresho Smarani Britani Kunje Radhika Krishna Chandra Tavaivasmi Najimami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyayaradi Tvam Naimam Charanantike Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadatara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, my unlimited Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev, until Prishta Om Vishnu Pada Stutra Sateshimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Shiksha Gurudeva Om Vishnu Pada Astutra Sateshimad Bhaktivedanta Madhusudan Goswami Maharaj, Shrimati Krishna Priyata Kurani, Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga. Today is the disappearance day of Shri Narahari Sarakar Thakur, his lotus feet. I'm offering Dandavat Pranams also to the lotus feet of Shri Ekadasi-tithi. Today is holiday of Ekadashi. And to dear devotees and friends in London, Mornington Crescent. And to everyone who is watching us, both now and in recording. So today is the very auspicious day, Ekadashi. Eka means 1, Dashi means 10, means 11th day of the moon. So this is called Madhava-tithi, as we heard in the song. Madhava-tithi means the day of Madhava. Madhava means the husband of the goddess of fortune, means the Lord Krishna, beloved of Radhika, we say. So remember Radha and Krishna, they're together in the altar. So that is not the day, that is Krishna himself. That's what Srila Gurudev was telling us, Krishna himself. So Krishna invested himself completely into this day, and Ekadashi Devi is actually one of his energies. So she is Devi, like the goddess, but she is present here as a day, as Tithi. Tithi means day, astrological day. So how did Ekadashi manifest? Long, long ago, when the Supreme Lord created all material world and moving and non-moving living entities, then he understood, some of them, or most of them, will not be playing according to the rules. So in football, for example, you play not according to the rules, you're given something like punishment, like yellow card, red card, disqualification, etc. So that is called a sin, as we were saying yesterday. So sinful reactions will come. The Supreme Lord understood that. He meditated within himself, and from his form came a terrible black entity with yellow eyes, terrible, terrible features. All of the parts of the body of that entity was made of multifarious sins people can perform. That was Papa Purusha. Papa means sin in Sanskrit. So symbolic, isn't it? So Papa Purusha. Purusha means representation or person representing. So different limbs of that personality were constructed of various sinful activities. His head was made of the sin of murdering a Brahmana, means a high-range priest. His two eyes were yellow eyes, of the sin of drinking intoxicants, like whiskey, etc. His mouth was made of the sin of stealing gold. His ears were the form of sin of having illicit connection with spiritual master's wife, like one of 7 mothers, as you remember. His nose of the sin of killing one's wife. Good nose, huh? Nice. His arms in the form of sin of killing a cow. Here we go. The head of the sin of killing a Brahmana. Hands of the sin of killing a cow. Another one of 7 mothers. Remember 7 mothers? Stuart. So one of them is wife of a Brahmana, Brahmani. One of them is a cow. His neck made of the sin of stealing accumulated wealth. His chest of the sin of abortion. His lower chest of the sin of having sex with another's wife. His stomach of the sin of killing one's relatives. His navel of the sin of killing those who are dependent on him, like servants. His waist of the sin of self-appraisal. His thighs of the sin of offending the guru. His genital of the sin of selling one's daughter into slavery. His buttocks of the sin of telling confidential matters. His feet of the sin of killing one's father. Nice, huh? Head of the sin of killing a Brahmana. Arms of sin of killing cow. Feet of sin of killing one's father. And his hair, the form of less severe sinful activities. So such a personality. So Supreme Lord looked at him and was thinking, I have to create now someone to neutralize the activities of this guy, Papa Purusha, representation of sin. And the Supreme Lord again dove into meditation and manifested the Lord of Death, Yamaraj. So Yamaraj is a judge. He's one of the 12 great authorities of the universe. He's a great, great devotee, actually, but he's Lord of Justice. So when living entity goes, after leaving one's physical body, goes towards next body, he or she normally comes to Yamaraj. Even pious people also come to Yamaraj, but they come to a very good Yamaraj, very welcoming. Oh, pious soul, welcome, please have a seat. I'll administer a very, very wonderful abode for you, pious abode, heavenly abode, please go there. And for those sinners, Yamaraj administers different kinds of sinful results in the form of residence in hellish planets. So there are, we saw yesterday, 14 planetary systems. They're all shown here. Actually, we should, well, anyway, here, Lord Anantashesha. Below, we cannot see at the moment. But anyway, 14 planetary systems. The Earth is number 8. And below there are 7. So when people are sinful, they go there. But when people are very, very sinful, they go to a very special abode, which is called Naraka Loka. Naraka is a very special hell, which is so severe, it stands even on the side of the 7 ordinary, no sound, ordinary hellish planets, lower planets. So that is called Naraka Loka, where sinners having no material, having no physical, no gross body, have to suffer. Terrible, terrible ways of suffering. So in Mathura, by the bank of Yamuna, there is a temple of Yamuna Yamaraj. Yamuna, the river Yamuna, and Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, are actually brother and sister. Sister and brother. So he is Surya Putra, son of the sun god, and she is Surya Putri, daughter of sun god. So when a living entity is very sinful, then Yamaraj deals with that soul. But if Yamuna, his sister, tells something in Yamaraj's ear about that soul, then Yamaraj will not be so severe. So there's a day, Bratridvitiya, when brothers and sisters, hand in hand, come to Yamuna and Yamaraj. They take bath in Yamuna at Vishramghat, at that place in Mathura. Mathura is 15 kilometers from Vrindavan. This is like gateway to Vrindavan, the place we live, and the place where Krishna was born. So on that day, they come hand in hand, and they go to Yamuna, they take bath in Yamuna, and they go to Yamuna Yamaraj Mandir, you remember, in Mathura, the temple of Yamuna and Yamaraj. So they pray to Yamuna, "Oh Yamune, please say a few words, a few kind words about me to Yamaraj." And on the walls of that temple, there are different types of punishment depicted in the form of bas reliefs. So when a person is cruel to others, after death, he is beaten severely by Yamadutas, the servants of Yamaraj. If a person is drinking liquor, for example, after death, the servants of Yamaraj pour into his mouth what's that? Melted lead into his mouth. So he cannot die because that body is subtle. And then after, when somebody was engaged in illicit sex, then Yamaraj administers him the following punishment. He has to copulate with a fiery lady, like this. I don't want her. You have to push. Yamaduta is very terrible, with huge teeth, with terrible claws, with red, what's that, tongues, pushing him to that lady like this, etc., etc., etc. Many different types of punishment of Naraka are depicted in those fresques, or rather bas reliefs. So terrible, but or a person is put through two rolling, what's that called? You have road, what? Yeah. So he's totally squeezed, becomes level, like this. So all juices are out. So then Yamuna says something nice into Yamaraja's ear, and Yamaraja is satisfied and gives not so severe punishment. But when there's one but, strong but, when a person becomes a devotee of Krishna, then that person goes, after death, goes through green channel. Otherwise, one has to go through red channel. Red channel means you are checked by customs. Yes. What have you done? Maybe you have heard or read about posthumous experiences. People are shown, like those who are dead, those who passed through, the final border. They are shown the film, the movie of their life, starting from the end, and then in the reverse order, one is shown different events from one's life, how one was younger, how one was a child, how one was an infant, etc., from end to the beginning. So then, a devotee is shown differently. Once, one devotee, disciple of Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, after Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left this world, became weak. After your guru leaves, there's a great, great test. That devotee became weak, and he left the practice. So the Supreme Lord, in his heart, looked upon his karma. What does this guy have in his karma? Okay, I want to give him mercy. So see what you deserve. Aha, you have to die now. You have to die. According to karma, you have to die. So, okay, he died. And his relatives took him to funeral pyre. There's a real story. I forgot the name of the devotee. I think I have it somewhere in the computer. So you have to... Okay, so they brought him to funeral pyre. The body had to be cremated. So then, at that moment, he is seeing two eyes, in his subtle body. He's seeing two very frightening eyes. Those were the eyes of Yamaraj. Ordinarily, if a devotee of Krishna passes away, he doesn't go to Yamaraj at all. He doesn't see Yamaraj. He doesn't know Yamaraj. Because Yamaraj told his servants in the history of Ajamila, while we're here, tell that story one of the evenings. So he said, don't touch those devotees who have tilaks, who have kantimalas, who chant the holy name, who have beads in their hands. Don't touch them, because they go through green channel. So customs just look at me. When I fly into India, nobody ever checks, because they are Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, that's all. When I flew into England, also they were not checking somehow or other. So green channel. So I say, Hare Krishna, okay, clear. Right? That's it. So after death is similar. So then Yamaraj came to that devotee because he was acting as a mundane person. He gave up his practice. So he asked, the first question. And the first question which is asked in very good society is not, what's your name? Who is your guru? That's the proper question. Like if you come to another mat, nobody knows you there. First question, who is your guru? Once I was a young devotee, completely young, just received initiation from Shiva Gurudev, the end of 99. And I went to another mat just for prasad, for lunch, because I was visiting holy places, and there was another mat in that place, and I came. So first question they asked me, who's your guru? First question, who's your guru? Not what's your name. Name not so important. Who's your guru? That's important. Attention, attention. So, and he was trembling because the glance was like, you cannot hide anything, You cannot hide. Even from the police, you cannot hide anything because they see everything with their cameras and all those things, mechanical things. But something still you can hide. But from Yamaraj, nothing can be hidden. So he was saying, who is your guru? Like this. And the person goes, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Siddhanta Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Go back. It's not your time. I mean, it's not your place. Your place is not here. Go back. Back means back into material world, means back into your body. And his relatives were about to burn him on a funeral pyre, and he returns into his body and stands up. So they're horrified. Boot means ghost. We're trying to beat him with burning logs, like this, burning logs. He escaped from his own funeral. He escaped and went, grabbed the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Okay, Japa, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, back to practice, like this. Back to practice, because Hare Krishna, most welcome. So, where's Sundaranand from? Okay. So, So he escaped from his own funeral, and then he was given a chance to continue. That's it. So yes, Yamuna Yamaraj was speaking about Yamaraj, and we're speaking about the story of Papa Purusha, which we tell normally on Ekadashi. So when Papa Purusha, the personification of all sin, was created, then the Supreme Lord thought, oh, I have to create someone who can neutralize the sins of all humanity. So that is Yamaraj. So Yamaraj punishes those who are sinful. So once the Supreme Lord wanted to visit Yamaraj and went to his abode, Yama Loka, his planet. Loka means planet. So Yamaraj accepted him, very heartfelt prayers, oh Lord, please have a seat, etc. And the Lord was satisfied, but he heard some sounds, terrible, terrible sounds, shouts. You know, when somebody is beaten and punished, from lower regions. On YouTube, there was one video, you know, somebody managed to record voices of suffering people from hell. Yeah. And it was like, terrible, terrible sounds. So the Supreme Lord heard those sounds and asked, what are those sounds? Oh, those are the sounds of criminals being punished in hell, he was saying. He was really, really upset. The Supreme Lord was really, really upset. And he said that, oh, I have to exhibit my mercy now. I have to stop all this. And he went into meditation, into trance, and he exhibited, so from his body, a wonderful maiden came, you know, from the side of his body. And how can I serve you? Oh, your name will be Ekadashi. Your name will be Ekadashi. I will give you 2 lunar days. In the beginning of the month, 11th day, at the end of the month also, 11th day, I will give you. So you will be called Ekadashi Devi. And you will be very, very fortunate because you will be known, well known as much as myself in this material world. And everybody who is observing you by remembering me, chanting my name, meditating on my wonderful pastimes, remembering me, taking my prasad, doing all types of devotional service, will be very, very famous also all around the universe, and he will achieve highest perfection. So those who observe Ekadashi, they go to spiritual world, basically. They can obtain bhakti and go to spiritual world. So people started following Ekadashi, and massively they started going to spiritual world, to Vaikuntha. This Vaikuntha region, and higher than that, Goloka Vrindavan, they were going towards those abodes massively. So then, Papa Purusha, the personification of sin, starting feeling very, very bad because Ekadashi Devi was so influential. He was being burned by her effulgence. So he could not escape anywhere. He was trying to hide himself amongst mountains, in deserts, in fields, in the forests, in the rivers, in the ocean, in heavenly planets, hellish planets, anywhere, could not escape because it was burning and burning and burning and burning and burning. So sometimes when your conscience not giving you any freedom, that you cannot escape anywhere. So in that same way, Papa Purusha was feeling so much desperate. And finally, he grabbed the lotus feet of the Lord, went to his abode, grabbed his lotus feet, and said, please save me, save me, save me. Not because of, oh, I'm feeling pain, not because of, oh, I'm feeling some burning, because I am deprived of service. I cannot serve you anymore, because massively people went to spiritual world, so the hell became empty. Even heaven became empty. There's no one to administer. You go here, you go there. Everybody went to spiritual world. So then the Supreme Lord was very, very, I would say, pitiful. He gave great, great mercy to Yamaraja. Say, oh, be appeased. No problem. I will give you very special sevano, very special service. I will give you the position. I will give you the place where you can reside. You will reside in grains on the day of Ekadashi. So on the day of Ekadashi, all sum total of the sins of all humanity are residing in the grains, food grains. So those people who eat grains on Ekadashi day, consciously and unconsciously, they eat up all sins of all humanity. Remember the body of Papa Purusha? Head made of killing of Brahmana, hands made of killing of a cow, feet made of killing one's father, etc., 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 etc. So all those sins. But people don't know. Even so-called Vaishnavas who do, worship, etc., many processes, but they don't follow Ekadashi, cannot be called Vaishnavas because they eat grains on that day. But most important feature of Ekadashi is not that you abstain from grains. That's like a hygiene, you have to abstain, because otherwise, why do you need those reactions? But on the other side, on the other hand, on Ekadashi we remember Krishna, we worship Krishna, we pray to Krishna, we remember him, we chant his name, we meditate on his pastimes. So we neutralize not only our karma by that, we neutralize material existence as such, and we go to spiritual world. But for that, it's very, very essential to have Guru. Very, very essential to have Sri Guru. That's the question that devotee who became weak, heard from Yamaraj, who is your Guru? First question, who is your Guru? So, Tasmad Gurun Prapadyata Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam Shabde Charit Parecha Nishnatam Shabde Parecha Nishnatam Upashamashrayam. Three features Sri Guru has. First one, well, he's knowledgeable. He knows all the Vedas completely, from A to Z, and is able to clear all doubts of a disciple, uproot all the conceptions which are against bhakti, and also he is able to give bhakti, because he is Sri Guru. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite para. Krishna is yours, you're able to give Krishna, so Sri Guru is like that. And he is also detached, he doesn't want anything for himself. He is all right when he is very poor, he's all right when he has no disciples, no home, etc. He's very detached, because his only possession is Krishna. But these are two external features. But feature number 3, which is most important, is Parecha Nishnatam. He is firmly established in the realization of Paratattva, or the Supreme Truth, the Supreme Personality. So he has realization of Krishna. He knows who Krishna is. He participates in his pastimes, has spiritual body, sees him at all times, same as we see each other right now. So he is called Guru. Gu means darkness, and Ru means light. He is able to dispel, yes, darkness completely from the heart of a disciple by the process of divine knowledge. Yeah. So he gives Ksha. No? Di means divine, and Ksha means divine knowledge, and Ksha means, Kshayate means to destroy, destroying all ignorance. So that personality can be called Guru. Very 2-3 words we describe who that is. So we're very, very lucky because we have met such a personality. Our Gurudev, his pure representatives now, our Shiksha Gurus. So we want to share a little bit our experience. So that's the story of Ekadashi. Ekadasi-tithi ki jai. So we have to follow Ekadashi, and we have to hear wonderful stories from the scriptures. So we were hearing yesterday the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Our new friends already know who that is. That's Krishna himself, but he came as a devotee in order to bestow the holy name for everyone. So we were speaking about the value of human form of life yesterday. Unlimited living entities are there, 8,400,000 species, but to the human species only 400,000 types belong, types of consciousness. So those five we're discussing, remember. Immoral atheists, moral atheists, moral theists, sadhana bhaktas, those who take up the path of spiritual practice, and bhava bhaktas, those who have achieved the cognizance of the spiritual body. So human beings are very small in quantity, and mostly they're not civilized, we heard yesterday. Those who have taken Vedic principles are considered to be civilized. Uncivilized people also have their religion. So in the name of God, so-called, they can kill each other, they can do anything. So sinful activities in the name of religion. It's quite common nowadays, unfortunately. So they perform fruitive work, and they perform lip service. They can worship some demigods, and they want sense enjoyment, so they ask about sense enjoyment from the Supreme Lord. So how to make progress while you in human form of life? We're gonna hear one story today, which was told in Srimad Bhagavatam. If Bhagavad Gita is a short encyclopedic dictionary, then Bhagavatam, a great book, in how many volumes? 17, I think. 18,000 verses. It's like central scripture of Vedic, of the body of Vedic scriptures. Central scriptures is number one. Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam means Bhagavat. Bhagavan means the Lord, and Bhagavatam means wonderful description of the Lord's pastimes, also pastimes of his devotees. So once there was holy king, his name was Barhishat. Otherwise, his name was known as Prachina Barhishat or Prachina Barhi. So he was very pious, but he was inclined towards demigod worship. He wanted material happiness. Although he was quite advanced, he was still desirous of material prosperity. So he was married. His wife was very advanced. She was the daughter of a king of the mountains. And they had 10 sons. And the sons were called prachetas. So those prachetas were very advanced souls. But father told them, oh, you have to follow my instructions. You have to conduct Vedic sacrifices for the prosperity and for the benediction for this world. So they started fulfilling father's order, and they went towards east, I think it was, yeah. And all of a sudden they noticed wonderful, wonderful lake, great lake in which there were beautiful lotuses, beautiful birds were there chirping, and beautiful bees were collecting honey from those lotuses. And then they noticed that that lake was very, very special. That was actually the abode of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was residing there. You know Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva is the master of yoga. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. The best of devotees of Krishna is Lord Shiva, actually. He's not independent. But he is next after Lord Vishnu, next after Lord Krishna. If here in spiritual abode there are so many manifestations of the Supreme Lord, then there's abode of Lord Shiva, Kailas. You can see here. Lord Shiva is situated there in Kailas. And He has his associates there. He's a very special personality. He's simultaneously established in spiritual body also. He has material body. Rudra is already material manifestation. So, Kiram yatadati vikara jishesha yogat sanjayatena hitata pridagaste hetu. So, in the same way as yogurt is totally milk product, it's made of milk, but it cannot become milk. In that same way, Lord Shiva is a product of Lord Vishnu. How to say? He came from Lord Vishnu, and he's incarnation of Lord Vishnu, but he's simultaneously the servant of Lord Vishnu. He is not complete Vishnu Tattva, not complete truth of Vishnu. He is simultaneously Jiva Tattva also, can be in the Rudra form. So they met Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva said, "Oh, sons of Prachina Barhi, I know who you are, I know where you're going, I know that you're going to perform great task to fulfill your father's desire, but listen a minute. Actually, if you continue with the task your father had given you, you will be doing fruitive sacrifices. Like you will be obtaining something after conducting those sacrifices. In the previous times, when one was doing a sacrifice, for example, a king was doing sacrifice with the help of qualified brahmanas. So the desirable objects, for example, a chariot or a son or some warrior who could finish his enemy, was coming directly from a sacrifice, from the fire. Like we sometimes don't believe in fairy tales, but you know, all fairy tales, they come from Vedic source. So that is actually true. So miracle is quite true. So nowadays we don't believe, but it's quite possible. So many miracles around us we take as granted, but they're actually pure miracles. Once Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was asked by some students in a university he was making a program in, "Oh, can you show some mystic powers? Do you possess mystic powers?" Swami Maharaj said, "Oh, look at them. This is the demonstration of my mystic powers. Before they were hippies, now they're happies. All of a sudden they became Krishna's devotees. It's a mystic, great mystic power of Sri Guru. His wish-fulfilling tree. You can touch wish-fulfilling tree or ask about anything, and you get that. The supreme devotee of Krishna, Sri Guru, can make impossible possible. Krishna can make impossible possible, and Guru can make impossible possible. So, fallen person, drug taker, alcoholic, all of a sudden, great saint, like that prostitute. Oh, we were speaking in Hastings about that. Haridas Thakur made a great devotee out of prostitute. So that's a separate story. So, yes. So Lord Shiva said, you cannot achieve anything by that. You know, you'll be still born again and again and again. So, better worship the Supreme Lord. Listen to my song now. I will sing a song for you in which I will glorify the Supreme Lord. So Lord Shiva sang Rudra Gita, the song glorifying the Supreme Lord. And the Prachetas, listening to that song became very much attracted to the Supreme Lord. And he said, now you have to take that song into your hearts. You have to perform austerities and meditate on the Supreme Lord. So they entered the waters of that lake, and Lord Shiva disappeared. But they were remembering him all the time, their Guru. They received great mantra from their Guru in the form of that song. So for 10,000 years, at that time, people lived for 100,000 years. In Satya Yuga, in the Golden Age. In Treta Yuga, Silver Age, they were living for 10,000 years. In Dvapara Yuga, a Copper Age, they lived for 1,000 years. And during Kali Yuga, they lived for 100 years. lived, still live, some of them, very fortunate ones. You're approaching 100 and, okay, you're champion. Your name is in Book of Guinness book. So, they were meditating for 10,000 years. This is like 10 years, according to the modern estimation. So after that, Narada Muni, great saint, approached their father, Prachina Barhi, and said, "Oh, great king, please listen. You're conducting these sacrifices, right? And your sons are engaged by you in the same. But don't you know, these sacrifices will not bring you supreme happiness. You can raise your standards of life. You know, those who advertise yoga in this world, they say, oh, yoga can give you better standards of living, the art of living, you know. And, yeah. But that is all in material world. You can go to heaven, you can go to, you can achieve some mystic perfection, you can walk on water, you can become the master of mystic powers, you can obtain anything from anywhere. But those are temporary achievements. So Narada told Maharaj Prachinabarhi, listen to my story. And he told him the story of Puranjana. There was one king, and his name was Puranjana. Puranjana means the resident of this world. That's the etymology, Puranjana. So he was looking for a suitable place to fulfill his desires, at Puranjana. And he saw a wonderful city, which had 9 gates and all necessary facilities, beautiful fountains, etc., etc. The king said, oh, it's a beautiful place. And he had a close friend, Avigyata. Avigyata means the one who has not been conceived, the unrealized one. So with that friend, they were happily resided in that city of 9 gates. So that's an allegorical story. So the king was like representing a typical resident of this material world, of this planet. And Avigyata means the super soul. Remember yesterday we were saying individual soul and the super soul, Atma and Paramatma. Atma is you and Paramatma is the Lord within your heart. So they both were residing in that city. 9 gates means 9 outlets our body has. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, you know, up 7 and down 2. So there was 9 gates. So in that sense, we all have the surname Gates, probably, because we have 9 gates. So he was residing in that city, accompanied with Paramatma, or Super Soul, Avigyata. So then he saw so many objects of material enjoyment. It's a long, long story, but I'm cutting it short. So he was seeing so many wonderful features around, and all those were actually objects of sense enjoyment. He was totally mesmerized by the objects of sense enjoyment, and he was taking them one after another. He was enjoying. And his friend Avigyata, Super Soul, was observing all that. Okay, you want that? You really want? Yes, that's the goal of my life. I will help you, Avigyata was saying. Paramatma was saying, okay, you enter that business, you will gain millions now. So he was helping him, and he was very, very happy. But once he saw a very wonderful lady whose name was Puranjani, a woman who was having 10 servants. 10 servants. And all those servants had sons and great-grandsons, etc., etc. It was huge, huge company. So he was married. No, he was very much attracted to that lady, and he became completely henpecked. She was ruling him, and he lived in that city of material pleasures for 100 years, and at the end he was totally in the possession of that lady. She was playing with him like with a doll. So once a desire came to the heart of the king, independent desire, all of a sudden. Even if you're handpacked, you can have some independent desire from the wife. Still, she cannot see. So I will go enjoy independently. So he went hunting. The king went to the forest hunting. Before kings, pious kings were hunting a lot because there were so many sages sitting in the forest. So they were hunting in order to kill all those animals so they don't harm pious sages sitting in the forest. So Puranjana abandoned his wife and went on a hunting excursion, indiscriminately killing many innocent animals. Whatever animal he was seeing, he was killing. Finally, he was very fatigued, hungry, thirsty, and he returned to his palace with all of his prey, but he couldn't see his queen. He saw some ladies who were, doing their thing, so he asked them, "Oh, where is my queen? Have you seen my queen?" And finally they showed him. He saw his beloved queen lying on the ground, looking depressed, in very simple clothes, like a maidservant. She was totally desperate. So finally he understood that he had committed a mistake, and she was rebuking him. So he was regretting, and he was asking for forgiveness. Then finally, being pacified, the queen regained her luster and enjoyed union with her husband for many years. Again, they started to enjoy. The king begot 1,100 sons and 110 daughters. That was Satya Yuga, so people were more powerful even in that sense. And there was no contraception. Swami Prabhupada writes in a commentary that you cannot find anywhere in the Vedas about contraception. That's completely demoniac thing. Reduce population, all they want, the leaders of the world, to reduce population, because so many people, too many people, we cannot handle. They're, depriving us of enjoyment. We want to enjoy all the resources of this earth, etc., etc. But Eastern mentality is different. Many children there in India now overpopulated, like number one, taken number one. China is number two in population. But before, there was no contraception, so there were many children. So you hear those stories. Oh, the king had 100 sons and 1,000 sons. And that's typical. That's all right. Many wives also they had. So it was no sin and great help for the Lord, for society, population, nice sons, nice daughters, not like now. We have, son, great problem, daughter, great problem. Son became such and such, daughter became this and that. Oh my God. Terrible, for parents, all because of wrong conception wrong situation at the time of conception. Wrong conceptions they were having at the time of conception. Right. As a result, the children are low class. So generally, Krishna saying in Bhagavad Gita in one verse, he's saying, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajantanti kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. At the time of death, at the time of leaving your body, whatever consciousness you possess, that same consciousness you come to in the next life. So if your only friend is your dog, by meditating on the dog, you become dog. Yes, because there are 8,400,000 species of life. And in the case of Puranjana, it was the same. We'll hear now what he was meditating at the end of his life. So he was very happily enjoying with his queen in that city with 9 gates, means his body, material body. So finally became tormented by family demands, and a great old lady called Jara came to him. Jara means old age. Old age. That lady knocks into everyone's door. You know, when your hairs become gray, then you can hear knock, knock, knock. I'm here. I'm coming. So you don't want to open the door, but she's very persistent. Again, knocking, knocking, knocking. I don't want to open. I'll crack it open. You know, I'll push it open. I'll break the lock and burst in. So then he's afraid and he has to open. Okay, old age, welcome, Jara. And then king of the Yavanas came to Puranjana. That was death in the form of king of the Yavanas. Yavanas means uncivilized people. Death came to him and death grabbed him. So he was plundered of all of his attachments. And even before that, some years later, he was attacked by before that he was attacked by Chandavega. Chandavega means coming gradually, time coming gradually. So Chandavega and his soldiers, so many soldiers, 720, because 360 days, 5 is a newer calculation. Traditionally, a year has 360 days, 360 nights. So multiply by 2, 720 sons. He has soldiers. He had that King Chandavega. So King Chandavega attacked the city of 9 gates in which Puranjana was residing, and Puranjana was absorbed in sense gratification, therefore he paid little attention to the attack. No problem, they will go. But no, it didn't happen like this. Because I was saying, I have a magic serpent. I have magic serpent of 5 hoods. And he was defending himself from the attacker, from the king Chandavega, which means time crawling gradually. So those 5 snakes were the 5 pranas, the 5 flows of air in the body, you know, because I'm young, I'm strong like this. Wait a minute, you know, wait a few years, you know. So Chandavega, the king, in the form of time crawling slowly, is crawling closer and closer and closer, and finally attacking the unintelligent king. And the serpent thus became weaker and weaker and weaker. Defense became weaker and weaker and weaker. And Chandavega's daughter, Kalakanya, so yes, old age, yes. So she attacked him, and then they both entered the city, and they embraced Puranjana. They killed all his associates, and they embraced Puranjana. So he became very, very weak. And all of his associates were in havoc. All the affairs in his kingdom were in havoc, and the situation deteriorated. The city was set ablaze, and the king was forced to leave, embroiled in thoughts of his family and wife. That's samsara davanava. That's the fire of material existence. So we all involved in that material existence. We're all residents in that material existence. So the time of death, we think of those things accumulated during lifetime. Smaram ante kalevaram, as we've quoted that verse, Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, all life we were cultivating consciousness. So all life, we devotees are doing what? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We're cultivating knowledge of Krishna, we're cultivating consciousness of Krishna. If some danger comes, we instinctively shout, Krishna, Once I had one god sister and one god brother who is now in Krishna Balaram. They were working together for charity, that was in Russia. Moscow Preaching Center had one charity, and they were supporting that center by the charity 20 years ago. And once they were driving to see us off. I was accompanying different sannyasis, so I was with that sannyasi at a train station, and they were in a great hurry, and they were driving, and it was drizzling, and the road was very slippery, but they were in a rush. They were getting late, and that god brother decided to speed it up, and he took the line which was tram line, where tram goes. Sometimes drivers do, unofficially, but they do. So he was driving down the tram line, and all of a sudden he made a turning which was completely inappropriate, so the car was cast into the opposite side, and she was not having seatbelts at that time, it was sometimes common, and with collision, car just collided with the van, and her head went back, and it was a huge blow, and then she was unconscious. So then we were already in the middle of the country. They called us, she's unconscious, and then she left her body after 10 days in coma. So, but before that all happened, she shouted, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna 3 times. When the car was approaching, when the car was about to bump, and the car really bumped, she shouted Krishna 3 times. What does it mean? In the story of Ajamil, yes, a famous story devotees know, but sorry, today will not tell it. He was calling Narayan. Narayan was the name of his son. He was a great sinner, husband of a prostitute. He had 10 sons from that prostitute, and the youngest one, 5-year-old boy, was called Narayan. So he was playing with him. Narayan, go here. Narayan, again you're naughty. Narayan, 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 Narayan. He created the balance of pious activities. At the time of death, he saw Yamadutas, the servants of Yamaraj, since he was performing sins with body, mind, and words. There were 3 of them, terribly looking very terribly. So they were gazing at him, and he was so much afraid, and he shouted, Narayan, Narayan, seeking refuge, his son. So then Vishnudutas came and told Vishnudutas, the servants of Lord Vishnu, looking exactly like Vishnu, 4 hands, 4 types of weapons in their hands, a discus, lotus, a club, and a conch. Yes. So looking at them and say, hey, Ajamila belongs to us. This Brahmana belongs to us. Don't you know how fallen he is? Yes, we know. But he was calling our master's name, Lord Narayan. No, he was calling for his son. No matter. He was calling his master's name. That's why Indians give names of the Lord for their sons and daughters. Narayan, Radharani, etc. So they call their daughters and sons all alive, and they call the Lord. Not like Nick, Bob, These are names, fit for dogs. Hare Krishna, Hare Bom. No spiritual names. So becoming more and more fashionable in India. Bob, such and such, Nick, such and yes, Pinku, Finku, different names. Yes, meaning nothing. But Narayan, this is something. So he called Narayan and he was saved. So in that same way, that was the accumulated consciousness. Because we're saying Narayan, Narayan, Narayan says there's a holy name, and that football reporter who is speaking about the football player called Krishna is creating sukritis, is creating great merits, by shouting Krishna, goal. That's it. That's it. He's saying Krishna, very good to have such a surname. Also very great, such a name. And if his name is Krishna and surname Krishna, that's completely amazing. Krishna, Krishna. So Hare Hare, like this. So some years later, when he died, he was thinking about his wife, and he became a lady in his next life. So, because he remembered his wife, he became the daughter of King Vidarbha, and he was married to Malayadvaja. So Vedarbhi gave birth to children. Malayadvaja retired from household life, dedicated himself to spiritual pursuits. Vedarbhi followed him, and when he died, she arranged his funeral pyre and prepared to enter the fire. That's the good Vedic tradition. So the wives enter the funeral pyre of husbands. And just then, an old Brahmana friend of Puranjana came and questioned her. He said that they were old friends, but she had forgotten him, having engaged in the illusory relationships and activities of the world. So he told the previous story of her life. Yes. So even though Puranjana was a pious king, he forgot about his destination and he became a lady. So this allegorical story is about that. So we have to, on Ekadashi day especially, remember Krishna, think of Krishna, pray to Krishna like this, because otherwise we think about other things and we become gents and ladies of this world. We may become animals, like another great king, Bharata. He was thinking of a deer at the time of death, and he became a deer. There's a whole story. Maharaja Bharata was the ruler of the whole earth before. King was the king of the whole earth. Now kings or presidents rule only one country. But formerly they were ruling the whole planet up to the period of 5,000 years ago. So when Bharat understood the values of spiritual life, he left everything, Gurudev said. In the same way as a person going to the toilet leaves whatever he needs to in the toilet, and Gurudev was saying, feels so much ease. So, and Bharat was sitting and he was meditating on the Supreme Lord at the river. But once he saw a she-deer who was escaping from a tiger, and she was in such a panic and shock. Then, trying to escape, she was jumping over the stream Bharat was sitting at. So he saw when she was jumping, she lost her fetus. She was pregnant, and she lost little deer, and the little deer fell into the water. And before she died, she gave a glance to the king, take care of my baby, like this. And then she wandered somewhere and she died. So the king immediately stood up, broke his meditation, took the baby deer into his arms, and he became like his son. Like his son. He was giving him milk instead of mother's milk, some other kind of milk. And then he was doing his meditation, but then the deer was coming and sticking his watery nose in his shoulder like this, breaking his meditation. Again you're here, again. He was thinking of the deer all the time. And then the deer became grown up, strong, and then the flock of deer was coming by. So that deer joined that flock, and the flock took him. He found his own mates, and the great calamity came into the life of a king. Oh, where is my deer? My deer has left me. Oh, earth, he was speaking poetry. Oh, earth, you're so fortunate. The hoof prints of my baby deer were stepping. You are marked to the hoof prints of my baby deer because his hooves were stepping on you. So you are so fortunate like this. As he was speaking in his poetry. So he was thinking of his deer, 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 deer. And at the end of his life, he left his body and became a deer. Yeah, that's it. But he was a very special deer in that lifetime. He was a temple deer. He was residing next to the temple. He was hearing whatever the sages were speaking about. And he was understanding the language. And he was understanding the subjects, even. Then he remembered his previous life. He understood. I was a king, and I made a mistake. I started thinking about a deer. So, as a result of his sukritis, of his known and unknown spiritual merits, at the end of his life, he developed human consciousness, and again, he became a human. Also, he was called Bharata. No. His father was trying to teach him. His father was a Brahman. His father was trying to teach him things. First you go and take bath. No, go pass stool, then take bath, then put on tilak, then start to meditate, like this. But he was doing everything vice versa. Why? Because he was so much absorbed in the spiritual consciousness. Because when he was Bharat in his one before previous birth, he was on the level of Bhav, very, very deep level. And he became attached to the deer, still. He became attached. But when he was Jada Bharat, in his third birth, he was already wholeheartedly devoted to spiritual life, spiritual values. That's why he was not paying attention even to what to do, what not to do. You know, sometimes we can see great devotees without tilak, as I saw my spiritual guardians, sometimes without tilak. You know. One of them for like 1 or 2 years were not putting tilak at all. Yeah. Some years then started putting, okay. For some time, no tilak, I was remembering. Because no need. You know, it's completely different level of consciousness. Like Gurudev was joking, you know. The personality who spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami, was a 16-year-old youth, and he was completely naked. Actually, he was born from his mother's womb, such, 16-year-old, because till the age of 16, he was sitting in the womb, he didn't want to come out. But then he took bath, completely formed youth, and completely naked. And since then, he wasn't even covering himself, didn't even undergo purificatory ceremonies. And he was totally absorbed in trance. So, so Gurudev was joking. You can tell Shukadev Goswami, immediately get dressed. What kind of behavior? You're naked in a public assembly, and you're speaking Bhagavatam? What kind of, what is this? And Haridas Thakur, we were speaking in Hastings, you know, those who watch our channel might have seen. So Haridas Thakur was Muslim by his upbringing, not by birth, but his, he was amongst Muslims, but he became great devotee of Krishna. So, and we cannot see that he was having any guru, actually. Guru was Mahaprabhu, we can say, Sri Chaitanya. But you can ask Haridas Thakur, who's your guru? He doesn't need, because it's incarnation of Lord Brahma, you know. He doesn't need any guru. Who is guru of Sri Rupa? Sanatana, not mentioned. Jiva Goswami, okay, Rupa Goswami. it's mentioned. But Rupa Sanatana, who? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yes, himself. But formally it's not stated. Mahaprabhu gave them Diksha. No, Mahaprabhu gave them Harikatha. Rupa-siksa were listening. Instructions to Srila Rupa Goswami. So, so Jada Bharat. He was called Bharat. And his father was trying to teach him, but he was doing everything opposite. First he was meditating, then he was going and taking bath, then putting tilak, and then passing stool. Everything the opposite. He didn't know what is best, what is worst, etc. from those activities. So soon his father died, unfortunately, and his brothers were very cruel towards him. Hey, you fool! You know Brahman. You cannot be taught. You're so stupid. You don't understand anything. They were misunderstanding his spiritual level. But he was a great, great saint. He was millions of times higher than them, but they could not see who he really was. So we have to be very cautious in India, in Vrindavan. What kind of old man? He's asking for alms. He's materialist. We're thinking, but he might be a Mahabhagavat Vaishnava, great devotee. So that offense will cost us spiritual life. We'll lose spiritual life because of that. Bhajan will lose because of one serious offense. It's possible. So better don't say anything. Better give 10 rupees. Sometimes devotees arguing for 10 rupees. Give that 10 rupees. Come on, you're a rich man. Give him 10 rupees. Don't be so miserly. What if he's not Mahabhagavat? So what? He's an ordinary pauper, but give him anyway. No harm. A piece will not fall off you, if you give. So, Bharata was like that, and they couldn't see his spiritual position, the brothers. So finally, they told him, okay, sit here. This is the field, right? So you guard the field, like a live scarecrow, You guard the field. If birds come, you chase them away. All right? Okay, right? Always saying yes. He was always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Everything is good. So when birds came, he was seeing them as souls. He was not seeing them as birds. Oh, birds! Oh, all these crops are for you. Please eat them. Because he was saintly, He couldn't see, this is my enemy, this is my friend. We're seeing like enemies and friends at every step. This guy told me I was a fool, so he's my enemy now. I'll block him from Facebook. We're thinking like this. And spiritual people are not like that. Spiritual people, like Srila Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, somebody told him about government, and he said, oh, Govardhan. Govardhan. Govardhan means the holy hill, Krishna lifted on his pinky. Government. Oh, Govardhan. Okay, good. Attention goes completely different place. So, but we're thinking government, afraid. Govardhan, Haribo, no problem. So he said, okay, birds, please eat these grains, eat these crops. Ah, you fool, what are you? You have no conception, no idea what to do, what not to do. So they were chastising him. But anyway, he had to perform his service. And then one day, great emperor Rahugana was carried on a palanquin. And they came and they saw. Oh, first of all, the story about the dacoits. The dacoits were worshipping Kali. In India, everybody worships someone. Even dacoits, they must worship Kali. Devi. How to say, having many arms and big tongue, punishing demons, drinking their blood like this. So now is Kali Yuga, now her age. So they were worshipping Kali, and they were preparing a very special treat for her on that day, human sacrifice. So they were looking for some Untermensch, you understand? Like half man. Untermensch, like fascists were calling different other nations. So half man, you know, not complete man. So, oh, this one. Oh, they had caught someone, but he escaped. But they saw Jada Bharat. Jada Bharat was quite stout, you know, big, healthy. So he saw, because he was eating also. Anything was given, he was eating, so he was also quite healthy. So, oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful type we really need, you know. Oh, sir, please come. Please come. We'll show you good life, you know. Oh, please be treated. This is your feast. You take this and take that away. Fed him. They bathed him. They fed him. And they prepared sharp knife. The time for the sacrifice has come. And then Kali, not able to tolerate the great, great humiliation of a pure devotee, not of her devotee, but of Krishna's devotee, her master's devotee, jumped out of the image of the deity, and with that same sword they prepared for killing of Rahugana. I'm sorry, Jada Bharata. Jada Bharata. Jada means stupid, so that was the name he was given. That was, he was also Bharata, but his name was Jada Bharata, means of no intelligence, stupid Bharata, they were calling him. So she took that sword they were about to finish him with, and she cut all of their heads. And she was with her Dakinis, those great, great demonesses, you know, her associates. And they started juggling those heads, you know, drinking their blood, juggling their heads like balls, you know, and dancing their satanic dance like this. So you can imagine how Kali Devi protected great devotee of Krishna. So that same Bharata faced Maharaja Rahugana. Maharaja Rahugana was great emperor. He was being carried on a palanquin by his servants, and one servant got sick. He could not walk anymore. So there are only three carrying him. And they said, oh, we need another carrier urgently. The king is in the palanquin, and the king is experiencing so much trouble because we cannot carry him properly. So who shall we find? Oh, this one. Look how strong he is. Hey, man, listen. Please be the carrier of the king. That's a very honorable service. But yes, okay. Okay, Maharaja Rahugana agreed. He didn't even think, oh, I have to guard this field, etc. I'm told to do this. Okay. I told to do that. Okay. It's saintly. So he agreed. And he was carrying, but since he was carrying about all living entities, he was not walking straight, but rather he was stepping over the ants. There were so many ants under his feet. So he was stepping over the ants. And all those ants were not killed by his steps. So then King's palanquin was going left and right because of that. Hey, who is carrying my palanquin improperly? Oh, Your Majesty, that's the new carrier. You know, he doesn't know what to do. Oh, you don't know what to do. Don't you know I'm the king? I can punish you. I can kill you. I can do anything. Oh, king, actually, neither you, neither me are kings, you know. We are not really these bodies. You're thinking of yourself as you're the king. But actually, this is not your permanent position. So the king was actually going to the ashram of Kapila Muni, the great incarnation of Krishna at that moment. And then he realized that he had met a great saint, Rahugana. So, sorry, Jada Bharata. King Rahugana met Jada Bharata. So finally, Bharat Maharaj told him all truth about spiritual life, spiritual upliftment. Finally, he quoted one very nice verse, Rahuganaita tapasanayati necheja nirvapana grihadva. The chandasaneva jalagni suryar vina mahat padarajo abhishek. All the other processes are invalid comparing to taking bath, at the lotus feet of a great devotee of Krishna. Rahuganaita tapasana. Tapas means austerities. You can perform austerities. You can perform sacrifices. Jatina Cheja, worship of different demigods, any worship. Nirvana, you can offer trance of yogic trance, nirvana. Pasana Jatina Cheja, nirvapana, grihatva. No? You can become a sannyasi, you can become an expert householder, anything you can become. But without taking shelter of the lotus feet of a devotee, all of your endeavors will be nil. Nothing. You will achieve just nothing. So you have to take bath at the lotus feet of a devotee of Krishna. What does it mean? Once we asked Gurudev in darshan, what is lotus dust, dust of the lotus feet? We often hear dust of the lotus feet. What is the dust? Shall I really bring my duster and wash it, and clear that off, and take some dust? And what's the procedure to take the dust of the lotus feet? Following instructions. If you meet bona fide guru in your life and surrender to him and follow his instructions, that's the real process of spiritual upliftment. So without Sri Guru, it's not possible to achieve success at all. Yeah. So we've just heard the story of Maharaja Bharata and his 3 lifetimes. So he lost 3 lives. We have lost already so many lifetimes. So many lifetimes. Imagine to be born as a dog, all life, huff, 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 and nothing else. Nothing else. Meow, meow, all life, mouse, bacteria, so many. Demigod, well, it's more interesting, but you have no time and interest for going to spiritual world because you're so happily situated there in heaven. There's unimaginable bliss there. Like, comparing to here, it's just, they drink the Somarasa drink and they become like as if immortal. They become all knowledgeable. Everything they get. Heavenly damsels are, the ladies from this earth are like monkeys comparing to them. Monkeys are also cute, They have some beauty, let's say. After all, they're God's creatures. But comparing to like demigoddesses or even earthly ladies, it's just nasty. So anything we can experience in this world, but if we don't take shelter of pure Vaishnava, that will be fruitless. So the life of Bharata shows us that our meditation should be on the Supreme Personality. And this day Ekadashi is just fit for that. We meditate on Supreme Personality. We try to meditate. We try to concentrate our endeavors so that we can achieve perfection. So chanting, hearing, chanting, discussing anything about Krishna is all beneficial. But there's one condition. Vina Rajabhishekam. Without taking the shower in the dust and the lotus feet of Vaishnava, it's not possible to achieve success at all by any other processes. So many people are doing nice processes, In this verse of Maharaj Bharata to Rahugana, it said so many nice processes. Tapasya, austerities, yogis perform austerities. They go to exalted planets of this universe. Tapasya, tapasana jati, they worship, they do sacrifices, they do, Vedic studies, they quote Vedic hymns, dedicate their lives. Not woof woof, this is really serious, but that's many, many, many assets, which are like many, many, many zeros without one which stands at the head. And what is that one? Padarajobhishekam. Mahat Padarajobhishekam means the bathing at the lotus feet in the dust of the lotus feet of Vaishnava. Means taking shelter, following instructions. That's the process of bhakti. Without this, there is no bhakti. There is no success in life. So we're very, very lucky And those who take up this process are very, very, very lucky. It requires some decisiveness. It requires determination, sure. If you want to go, for example, to that same India, requires determination. Some people cannot go, although they promise next year definitely go, next year definitely. Lack of decisiveness, lack of determination, lack of do or die spirit. Gurudev was teaching us do or die spirit, Some people do or die for achieving championship, achieving, high position. But that's just for 20, 30, 50 years. And then you'll be forgotten. Forgotten. Just forgotten. If I ask you who was the first football champion, you don't remember the name. But then he was like great, great personality. 200 years ago, that person was great because he invented something. Now nobody knows his name. Forgotten. It doesn't really matter. Somebody, okay, encyclopedia may say, but common people, you ask the name, they're using his invention, For example, I think lamp, by Tesla. What did Tesla invented? Electricity. So, but everybody's using electricity, and everybody's using what he invented, what he found. You'd ask Tesla in the street, maybe 1 person out of 10 student will know, maybe technical student may know, no more than that. That's it. That's it. It will disappear in the annals of history. But this path is eternal. It will never end. It never started, actually. It never ends. It's called Nitya Dharma, like the little booklet you received and you may receive today as well. That is the eternal life of the soul. As George Harrison said, within you, without you. He was into Indian things at that time. And he sang very nicely, within you, life flows on within you and without you. What does it mean? It flows on, it's within you, it's a fact. Everybody knows now even, But without you means you're somewhere else. Somewhere else. If somebody tells you, like, what do you think about this problem? And you say, thank you, I've had my lunch. It's irrelevant answer. But your mind is somewhere else. You're thinking about your lunch. Or you think about your girlfriend, and somebody asks, Somebody tells you, come on, this is the path, We can really, really help you to go to spiritual world. You can obtain your spiritual body. But he's saying like, oh, I want to watch my football. Hey, Baba, how long are you going to watch it, Soon they will all die, They will forget, people will forget their names. They will even, hate them, maybe, for some reason, Today I love you, tomorrow I hate you. That's in the world. But bhakti will never end, and that's the life of the soul. Without bhakti, the soul will never become happy. Never. Just take it for granted. It is so. It will never be happy. Because the object of the law of nature, you cannot cancel law of nature. The law of nature is that your consciousness goes after the object of your meditation. Energy flows where your consciousness goes. That's it. If it goes towards a dog, become a dog. Goes towards a deer, become a deer. Goes towards football, you'll be born in a football family. Father, mother, football players. You'll become little footballer, And if you say Haribol means, sometimes we say Nitai Gaur Haribol at the end, you might have noticed. Haribol means glorify the holy name. As in Bible, let thy name be glorified. No? So Haribol means we glorify Hari. Hari means Krishna. Hari means Krishna, who removes all obstacles from the path. So that is Hari. So if we glorify his name, then our life is successful. So instead of football, we can chant Haribol. And our parents will be Haribolas in the next lifetime. Brahmanas or whatever. Very, very good family. So if we're on the path, if we have Sadguru, that's an amazing situation. Then roughly speaking, a few lifetimes left. Gurudev was saying, if you follow everything strictly, nicely, then 3-4 lifetimes, he was saying. If you really like surrender and everything. If not, 10-15, he was saying that. But also can be millions if you're foolish, if you don't want to surrender, that's it. If you're a footballer, you have to surrender to the rules of the game. Otherwise, it would disqualify you. You ruin your career, you know, just because of your obstinacy, stupidity, you know. But you have to know that you do like this, you where and when you can take ball in hands, you have to know all these rules, you know, offside, etc., etc. Many things. If you don't know, if you protest, then what? Material life disqualified. No career, no nothing. You know? And career is, you know, back home, back to Godhead, as Swami Prabhupada said. That's the... So we're a society of ladies and gentlemen, or trying to become ladies and gentlemen, who are doing good investments. We're investing towards our future. We really want happiness for our soul, because this world brings only unhappiness, nothing but unhappiness. Yes, it will come. If you have trillions of dollars, even pounds, whatever, it will still come. You'll have to die. One day you have to die. If you're in a human body, it will happen less than in 100 years. You can take super medicines, okay, 120, 130, but you have to die, you know. Like old man Rothschild finally had to die, you know, at the age of 100 plus. And then, where will you go? Big question. Big question. Where will you go? How you lived. Because you form your consciousness during this lifetime. Yam apid smaram ante kalevaram, in that verse. So ante kalevaram, the moment of death, very important. Where we're going, how we are practicing. So Ekadashi day is a brilliant possibility, sorry. Welcome to England, Sadhu Maharaj. Possibility, brilliant possibility to cultivate our Krishna consciousness, because during this lifetime we cultivate our consciousness. So by the end of our lifetime, we're going to face this last exam. So this last exam is very important. It may happen in 50 years, 60 years. It may happen tomorrow. Once I gave a class in Lithuania, the land I'm from. My spiritual nephew, let's say, brought his sister, and his sister's husband at that day, on that very day, a few hours before, was nearly killed in a car accident. He survived by pure miracle, because some idiot left the car, you know, which was being repaired, on the road, on a highway, and he just full speed, 100 kilometers, bumped into that car. And the side he was on, probably that was British type of car, but the whole half of the car was just nothing, not less than a pancake, was just nil. And he was sitting as nothing happened in the second half. Imagine the speed. Yes. So by pure miracle, he survived, and not even a scratch. And he came to my class, you know. His sister took him to his class, and but a year or two after, asked, how are they? Maybe they can come again. And no, they're totally in the process of swimming in the ocean of miseries, you know. We're thinking it's happiness, but actually misery. Actually, it's misery. You know. For that money thing, you know, you wake up at 4 o'clock. You know, stand in the jams for 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. You maintain yourself on antidepressants, you know, huge business, antidepressants, and same America, you know. Right. Then by the end of the day, you're finished. You have to take your pills, you have to take your beer and watch your something. Oh, magic screen. Oh, magic screen, I'm taking shelter of you. You are my guru, you know. my guru. Please show me good life. Show me good life. I want some good life. I want some peace and happiness. Please, magic screen. Devotees recognize, no? Everybody has portative magic screen, which shows virtual reality, which actually doesn't exist. Some of it does, but on the screen, it's nothing comparing to what is alive. It's still sometimes useful, but sometimes quite not. So the magic screen tells us fairy tales about nursery rhymes, about kings beyond the skies, etc. So we believe that. We believe, and we become participant of that. There was a story when I was a very young child. There was a story about a boy who entered the TV, became participant of all that reality, started, participating in all that. It actually happens, but within our mind, we become one of them, one of them. And Ray Bradbury, the writer, he wrote a fantastic novel, fiction, about the TV walls, and you become actually the participant of what's going on there, And those TV walls were full of electronic relatives, given to you by central government, and you're just, participating in that reality. So what Srimad Bhagavatam does is smashing of the wrong consciousness, of the wrong conceptions of electronic pseudo-relatives, electronic pseudo-friends, electronic pseudo-values, everything smashed. Oh, our child has been brainwashed. Parents say, yes, yes. Actually, you need to be done also. Your brains need to be also washed, so much. Because you gave them that in school and everything, materialistic consciousness. That's it. Eat, drink, and enjoy. Be obedient. We're going to exploit you, but you just be obedient. Nah, no longer. No longer. Thank you very much. No. So those who are intelligent enough, those who have enough sukriti, enough devotional merits, they go towards devotional life. That is the only way, only way, only way. So Shri Ekadasi-tithi ki jai, Madhava-tithi ki jai, Shri Narahari Sarakar Thakur Tirobhav Mahotsava ki jai, Gaur Premanande Harimo. Thank you so much. Today's disappearance day of Shri Narahari Sarakar Thakur. He was a great Vaishnava, great poet, associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wrote many songs. I think he wrote only one book, which was called Krishna Kathamrita, the nectar of Krishna's pastimes. He resided in a small town, village, called Srikanda in Navadvip, Mandala. So I remember his bhajan kutir and his deity. Very, very wonderful place. There were, I think, 6 Vaishnavas, prominent Vaishnavas, 7 from Srikanda. Raghunandan Thakur, Narahari Sarakar Thakur. There's another great Narahari Chakravarti, also a great poet, so they're sometimes mixed. So Narahari says, which Narahari? Sometimes they mix. But there's a great devotee, Shri Narahari Sarakar Thakur ki jai. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, most welcome. We are cordially inviting you to the 2 other programs here with Sundarananda Prabhu tomorrow and the after, 6 o'clock. If you can join, we'll be very, very happy, especially for new friends. So we will tell something more. But today, Ekadashi, so we spoke many things. If still there are some questions or you want to clarify anything, you're most welcome to ask. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Who's gonna sing? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Gaur Premanande, Jai Gaur Premanande, Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Shri Bhagavatam Mahapurana ki jai, Shri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga ki jai, Paramarajitam Guru Pad Padma ki jai, Shri Ekadasi-tithi ki jai, Madhava-tithi ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bo. Any questions? Most welcome. Otherwise, Mahaprasadam ki. Oh, Nayanaji. Okay, this is Nayan not showing. Okay, right. Yes. What?
I'm just going to ask. Yesterday, you were speaking about the soul is a 1/10,000 the tip of a hair, and you're saying you go from life to life. So I was thinking, and you're speaking about the false ego and intelligence is part of the soul. So when you go from one life to another, and you go from, let's say, another human body to another, or it can be in any out of the 400,000 or 8,400,000 species, how my mind is not computing how that karma and the false ego within that 10,000th tip of a hair is such a minute thing. How is it connected? How does it go?
Smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Possible, impossible, impossible, possible. You have to conceive, you have to just accept. Because actually, the Siddhanta, the philosophy of spiritual matters, deals with completely, materially speaking, contradictory things at all. So that's pure miracle. So if you believe in miracle, then okay, just give your faith. Give your faith to Guru and Gauranga and Krishna. So they say, and that is the truth. You know, that is so. It's very, very difficult for us because we are only orientated towards our meager experience, but our experience is really meager. Like, what do we know? It's like frog in the well philosophy, you know. Frog sits in the well, and who came to her? Another frog, no? Yeah, another frog, a patron frog, which experienced the ocean. So the frog, by some good fortune, experienced what ocean was. You know, she was floating there, and she came back, and the first frog is saying, "Oh, you've returned from the great journey. How was the ocean? How big is it? Is it bigger than my well? How big? Show me how big it is." like this, like this, like this, like this, like boom, he exploded. Not possible. So we advise not to become frogs, not to remain frogs, because yes, contained there. Answer is it's contained there. Everything is contained. The whole set. How is the whole tree is contained within a tiny seed? How? The whole tree. Yeah. How is the whole material manifestation is at the time of dissolution is totally concealed within a pradhana. It's like a system image in computer. Image of the system you create, you can transfer to the other computer. All your system is there. So seed is like this, and the soul is like containing everything. All those layers contained automatically. And then material elements come and they cover that when new Mahat Tattva is developed. So creation is quite complicated, but anyway, understand that it should be. It's divided into Jiva Maya and Guna Maya. Jiva Maya and Guna Maya. Later, I can show you the what's that called? A chart I have. Jiva Maya, Guna Maya. So mostly they're Guna Maya. Mostly they are extraneous, and Jiva Maya. Some elements are there, so belonging to the Jiva. So what's within the Jiva, it's within, but some extraneous things, they come from the matter, from the material environment, and cover the Jiva. That's what we experience in this lifetime. More questions? Sophie. This is Sophie, not showing, but Haribol. Okay,
Game show.
A game show. Right.
I had a moment today after being here with us this evening and asked for a little clarity on devotion, on faith, and whether this is the path for me. And I heard the name Lord Vishnu. And you spoke a little bit about Vishnu today. Do you have anything more to say about him?
Vishnu is represented in our body eternally as Paramatma, like Avigyata, that of King Puranjana. You heard the story. So that Avigyata, his friend who is not known, not conceived, so he's with him always. So love flows on within you and without you, George Harrison, copyright. So that love is Vishnu, means Paramatma within the heart. But Vishnu is just representation of Krishna who plays the flute. Our Lord is actually Krishna because we are the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this path of bhakti towards Radha and Krishna, himself being non-different from Krishna with the mood of Radha. So that's why we have to know that Vishnu is incarnation of Krishna. Itacham Shakala Pumsa Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. He has many, many, many incarnations. But this one, who is first creating the universes, then he is born here, isn't it? Within each and every universe. And then Garbhodakashaya, then Kshiradakashaya within every universe. On the bank of ocean of milk, he is there. It's Paramatma or Super Soul. So he's represented in each and everyone's heart. So although he's on the, in the central position, his central position is the shore of the ocean of milk. He's situated in each and every heart. So he's localized each and every. So see, every body, human, not body, has all necessary ingredients. Like we have eyes, we have nose, we have ears, everything is included. As in India, they say all included. All included. Everything is included. Each mosquito, each little bacteria has everything included. Yeah. Somebody invented a microscope, like most modern microscope, which can see the minute particle. What's that called? Most minute. Any physicists?
No.
Huh? Like not quark, but like most minute particle. So within that particle, there's microcosmos. Within that little particle, One Maharaj was telling me, within that particle there's the whole space, the whole system there. And at the end there's a tail, you know, of that little particle. And the tail rotates with terrible speed, one direction, like unimaginable speed. All of a sudden stops and starts rotating in different direction. Little particle of the cell, so to speak, you know. His intelligence. Even Lord Brahma, you can imagine, that's, oh my God. So, so he's all pervading. That's the divine system, divine system. Because of that, we're moving. Paramatma makes everyone move, think, all that comes together, and the soul can be in union with Paramatma, with, and can be without. So those souls which are deluded by modes of nature, deluded by material energy, are called baddha, or what's it? Enslaved. Conditioned, baddhajiv, conditioned souls. And those who are with Paramatma, they are liberated or about to be liberated. Those about to be liberated are sadhana bhaktas. They are traversing the path of sadhana, means spiritual discipline. And those who are already liberated are siddha. Siddha means they are perfected souls. So that's the condition we're in. So yeah, super soul gives us answers. Sometimes we hear, sometimes, but we're not too much engaged in, how to say, listening. Sometimes we do, but like dreams, etc., they can come and go. But there are some prophetic dreams, they can come. Your guru can come to you at 4 o'clock in the morning and tell you something very special called Swapna Darshan, Darshan in a dream, vision in a dream. So certainly there are miracles. We don't speak about them too loudly, not concentrated, otherwise speculation can come. Many different pseudo-visions can come. So it's not desirable. Reality, life, you know, then you will be given all visions, you will be given. Your seva, your eternal service will be given in spiritual body. Okay, how was your chanting?
Good. 5 was a big step.
Step, yes.
Yeah.
You keep 5. If you said 5 means 5 should be there. Very happy for you. Any more questions, ladies, gentlemen? Radhe, Radhe. Okay, so Bhagavad Prasadam ki jai. Now Bhagavad Prasam would be served and will be served, and see you tomorrow and day after here in London. Radhe, Radhe.